Why, hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Tipple's Brews and Wines Wine of the Week virtual tasting with Elizabeth and Jeff Vaudrey, the owners of Tipple's Brews and Wines. This week, I'm going to drop my pen first, and then we will begin enjoying.
We can take no notes. The pen is on the floor.
That's right. The pen is on the floor.
It's already rolled away too much.
You know, it's a crutch anyway. I don't need it. So
there you go.
All right.
Would you like for me to share?
Yeah, let's go ahead and look at the slide. So this week we're going to be enjoying the Edmeades Petite Sirah, the first time that we're having a 100% Petite Sirah. We've had it in a small part of blends a couple of times, popular blends. So, but this time let's go with the real deal so we can really enjoy what this grape has to offer. From Northern California, wine enthusiast rating of 93, wine spectator 91. They tend to be a little more stingy, so I call those about equal.
Okay.
Food pairings: roast pork, barbecue meat, spicy chili, and actually Jake came up with a good pairing because he's eating this tonight. Steak burrito.
Oh,
because any kind of a spicy, like it doesn't have to be spicy meat, but a spicy red meat, this guy can really work well with.
Okay.
All right. So let's jump back to us.
All right.
If you have not already done so, it is time to pop that bottle and pour some in the glass. It was a minor pop, but it's already been open.
It was already open.
So I prepared mine by bringing it down to European cellar temperatures of about 60 degrees Fahrenheit. For me, that is, and my recommendation is about 30 minutes in your refrigerator. That simple before you open, or even open it and then do it if you want it to have a little bit of time to take a breath while it's chilling down to cellar temperatures.
And hard pour?
Oh yeah, give it a good hard pour. This is a hearty wine. Give it a breath.
Okay.
It will evolve as we drink, but this one starts out friendly from the beginning.
Oh, okay.
So there's no,
you don't have to aerate it, and
you don't have to.
Okay.
It's kind of fun to take the trip with this wine.
Okay.
But it does give you, it's pleasurable from the start. All right. So I wrote on here, it's a Petite Sirah, right? And it's 100%. And honestly, I almost kind of want to stick with it because after I did a lot of research on this wine, technically it's 99% Petite Sirah and 1% Zinfandel, which I'm pretty sure means.
How is that affecting?
So this is a Zinfandel specialist making the wine.
Okay.
I think it's that they didn't clean the equipment betwing, and so there's a little bit of residue.
Okay.
Hey, look, Edmeades, I'm not knocking on you. This is a great wine. But that 1% seemed kind of fun. I was like, really? That's an intriguing number to put in there. So alcohol in this guy, 14.5%. Okay. Super dark and inky.
Oh, yes.
Very much appropriate to style in a Petite Sirah, which we'll talk about. Give me a minute to enjoy, please. I've been talking and not drinking. There's a nice little acid finish on this guy. So, which will mellow as we drink it. Okay. But here's why it's great that it's there. Age worthiness. That's kind of where we go next, right?
Right.
This guy's a good 10 to 15 year guy.
Okay.
All right. Good to 10 to 15 years of age worthiness. It's higher in alcohol, check, like 14.5%. It's not crazy high, but it's in, it's a good amount of alcohol. Higher tannins. It's got nice grip. And then does it have some freshness to the fruit? Yes, it has acid freshness. Acid is tartness. Tartness is freshness. That gives it time in the bottle as well.
And we're already 6 years in.
We're already 6
in. Yeah.
Actually,
it's had some time to mature then.
Interestingly, they do not make this wine every year. And we'll talk about that later on. So there's a reason that the current vintage is that old.
Okay.
Really roll it around your palate. You can enjoy those tannins. They will grip in there and make you wish that you had some wonderful cheeses or red meats to go with it as we discuss the pairings.
I'm sure a lot
Right.
of people do. We don't have anything tonight. We were
That's
running
true.
late tonight.
I do. It's all right. I've got a steak
Oh,
to eat
see, look,
afterwards.
there's a charcuterie board.
Nice.
Mhm.
Can always count on Julie. That's right. Olives would be great. All these wonderful
Mhm.
things. Yeah. So let's think about so let's take a look at this wine. A very intense extraction,
Mhm.
a lot of color, right? Is it weighty on the palate? Is it big, and does it which is to be said, the wine term would be, does it have a heavy body, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, and the Hogsets have red hot tacos.
Oh,
to
well, there you
with
go.
it. Mhm.
Yes, this
Yeah.
can handle because
Spicy, yeah.
right, because it's got some spiciness on its own,
Mhm.
but it also has a lot of fruitiness.
Mhm.
And so it really can work with those the spicier dishes. It has a lot of weight. I wouldn't say this is feeling like it's wafting off the tongue into vapor, right?
Oh,
No, this guy's on there. It's
Right.
there. It's on your palate. It's a heavy body, dense. And so let's go into some of the flavors. You know, we're probably smelling and tasting. Bit of black cherry, blueberry, cocoa, like real baker's chocolate.
Okay,
really
baker's
deep.
chocolate, yeah.
Yeah, and coffee bean. It's a really good representative of the style of the grape, you know, of this grape varietal, because these are kind of what you would expect to get. So it's called Petite Sirah. Most of us know petite means small, right? Nothing small about this, but it comes around. Like we find out why. We'll get into.
I know why.
Yes,
I think I remember why.
I think you do.
Okay.
All right.
I was very confident at first. Then I was like, now he's going to ask me why. No, I think it maybe.
Oh, by the way, let's pull up the slide and then I'll have you tell us why.
Okay.
All right. Wait, sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
Okay.
I didn't ask for comments. I talked about my thoughts on it: blueberry, black cherry, cocoa, really dark cocoa, a bit of vanilla, which I think might come out a little bit more as it relaxes, and coffee bean. Any thoughts from you guys? What are you tasting as we get into and smelling as we get into this wine?
I'm getting like the kind of the opposite effect of last week. Like last week, it started out really sweet and then kind of died off. This, I feel like the longer it sits, it's getting sweeter and sweeter to me, which I like, because I like the sweeter wines. But that's what I'm getting anyway.
So you're tasting more and more fruit.
Right.
Fruit and like sweetness. Yeah.
Really? Yeah, I'm not getting
So
any sweetness. at all.
certainly fruitiness, but it's a very bone dry wine. I mean, this is a dry wine, but and like we've talked about this, Brian, in before, which I get the comment totally. Like it's not a criticism on it. As we go through life and grow up, we take fruitiness as sweet.
Okay.
But
Because we're associating it like really from childhood. Of
right.
Anytime I'm having something fruity.
Right. If
having
I'm tasting
something
fruit,
sweet.
I'm
Yeah.
tasting something sweet. But
We're also
I mean, the
giant
sugar's
black
gone
berry.
from this guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have something to do with it. We are eating like
Oh,
too.
right.
Yeah.
That could be a thing.
Yeah.
I get that. That could be a thing. Because really the sugar's all been eaten up on this wine to get that 14.5% alcohol. But it's got a wonderful fruit presence.
Right.
And it will mellow. Like right now it's kind of fresh and tart, and it will mellow into a richer and richer. So what Brian said is exactly true, which is what we went with last week, where it started fruitier and then opened up and dried out. We're going to see the opposite effect with this grape.
So exactly.
So what Brian said is exactly correct. It's going to start out a little tart and tight, and then relax into a fruitier expression, a little more velvet. So,
and then what they're eating, this could be bringing out.
it'll bring it out
more
a
of
little
that
faster.
sugar?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So, yes, you are correct, sir. In the short form, yes.
So
I don't have a short version of anything though.
So Brenda, Linda, Laura, and John, one of them or all of them, licorice and plums.
Thank you for throwing in the plums comment. Absolutement. Yeah, that plums, absolutely. And an anise black licorice quality on there for sure. And ours is just beginning to express that because it has been open as long. It will get, but you can get some of it coming in. And I think as it relaxes, you guys are 100% correct. That we're going to get a plummy black licorice effect.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say licorice, or like, I feel like I don't know, like I taste something, I don't want to say cloves, but something that's not fruity. So like in that spice
Well,
family.
if I were you, I would totally want to say cloves because that would be correct.
Okay. So
That is what she said, but she didn't want to say it.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Cloves. Yep, all about it.
She's good.
Definitely. That's an
Yeah.
excellent observation.
Yeah. And then the Hogsets agreed with someone. I'm not sure if it was the chat box or with Brian's comment. Wait, you're muted still.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's the licorice plums.
Oh, he's typing.
Okay. All right.
I was just gonna say, for how dark it is, like when you
Mhm.
hold it up, you can barely see through it. It
Right.
really, like, the flavor really matches that. Like, it's
Mhm.
Right. That's
so dense, and there's a lot of flavors. It's not just fruit or just cloves or just, it's just like that complicated. I really like it.
oh, the early conversation.
Yeah.
So the Hogsets are saying yes. Theirs have been open about 45 minutes, and so yeah, they're getting a lot more of what we're moving into already. So good call. Thanks, Jerry.
How long
And-
has
and
ours
thanks,
been
Julie.
open?
20 minutes now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So pretty much right at 8. We
Right.
opened ours. Yeah.
Oh, Myra needs the code. Is she in the Facebook group?
So the Hogsets said they sent it to her? Okay.
Oh, you did. Thank you. Very
Okay.
much.
It just came through on his phone. so-
Awesome.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
All
All
right.
right. Would you like for me to share now?
Yes, let's look at what we're drinking, explore the grape. So we're drinking Petite Sirah, right? So anyone that's, as we have had many wines now over the last year and a half, we have a Petite Sirah, Sirah instead of SY. So different grape. It is not just a small version of Syrah, but it is related.
So annoying.
Yes, I get it. Honestly, I tried to look up a justification for the change in the name,
Mhm.
and I couldn't find a good one.
Okay.
All right. Other than they did want to differentiate, and they are different grapes. So
Okay.
the origin is in France. I put the Rhone Valley, honestly, from reading it, it had to be, but I didn't have it explicitly stated, like, oh, it's from France. But it's a combination of Syrah, all right, and Peloursin, right, a rare French grape from the Alpine regions bordering the Rhone region.
Okay.
So, and where is Syrah grown? In the Rhone,
Mhm.
in the southeastern France. So it had to originate in the
Yeah.
Rhone, right? That's where Petite Sirah must come from. So in France, it's called Durif, which is one of those, oh, here's in a little bit of Durif. And like, what? Yeah, anyway, there we go.
I wish they would just consist. I feel like enophiles specifically make it harder for people who are just learning about wines too. I think it's just part of that wine snobbery thing to just make it just a little bit harder for people to understand, what's going on or which grape it is or whatever.
And I would like to look a little more into it, but I
Uh-huh.
understand, like, why aren't we just calling it Durif?
Right.
If that's the French word,
And they're the ones
and
that.
they're the ones that the crossbreed,
Right.
the crossbreed was created in France.
Right.
Why aren't we calling it Durif? Why? Who came
to
up with
make
Petite
it
Sirah?
harder for people that are just getting into wines. That's why.
Fair enough. Anyway, so
So
There's the background.
when did they do this?
a long time ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you like for me to go to the
Yes,
next
let's
slide?
move along. All right, Petite Sirah. All right. Flavors: sugar plum, as they dance across your head. I do love Petite Sirah, by the way. Plum, blueberry, dark chocolate, black pepper, black tea. I like that comment because honestly, there's a bit of that astringency as it comes together.
Yeah.
you read that and you're like, oh, and there's nothing wrong with identifying it after it's revealed.
I'm getting some of the black pepper now too, as it opens up, just on the finish.
Mhm. So we're talking about dryness. So significantly dry,
Mhm.
has a significant fruit component too. So and much to Brian's comment, it's
Right.
like, all right, I get there's a lot of fruitiness going
Mhm.
on, but a technically dry wine. Is it full bodied? It's maxed out, right? So full body, high tannin, medium acidity. This guy being well made in cool growth, which we'll go into a bit more,
Mhm.
has a really probably the higher end of acidity for a Petite Sirah.
Okay.
So the Petite Sirah you're tasting tonight has a little more actually has a significant amount more freshness than probably the majority.
So you'd say a medium high acidity then, or?
This guy is high for Petite Sirah, so I
Okay.
would call it all of the top end of medium on acidity.
Okay.
All right. And over ABV, 15%, we're at 14.5. So
So
we're right toward the
right
top.
there,
Yeah.
within the standard deviation.
Mhm.
So, and the Larkin Tuckers say Durif sounds
Durif
dorky, so that's why they
That,
changed it.
could be it. I will say Petite Sirah sounds a bit more sophisticated.
It does.
I am
yes.
with you on that.
Next.
Yes, please. All right, so let's look at the grape anatomy. We have, in this case, Petite Sirah, small berries. These guys are they're significantly smaller than the berry size normally with the grapes, with wine
So
grapes.
hence the petite,
So the petite,
even though it's a big flavor.
exactly,
Mhm.
very thick skin.
That is what I remembered.
Yeah, I figured you did. Small, thick skinned. So you have a lot larger ratio of skin providing
Mhm.
all the tannins and flavors and
Right.
color to juice.
Right.
And so that's why it's such an intense grape. So it has small in the name. That is technically true. It
Mhm.
is a small grape, but it is a very big, intense, robust wine maker of a grape. And also significant sugar content. So you've got the outer area, the peripheral zone in the skin, and then on the inside and the central zone where you have all those sugars, it's actually quite intense as well.
Okay.
Mhm.
So the
It's a powerhouse.
size difference with it being a smaller grape,
Mhm.
are you picking it earlier? Or are you picking it later? Like, does that affect when you pick it, or they just still, it takes this long to ripen and?
Yeah, it's one of those that seems to be a fairly easy riper,
Oh,
right?
ripener?
Ripener.
Or riper.
Riper, yeah.
Whatever.
She's an easy
Okay.
riper. Come on. Anyway, you don't like it?
I do like that.
Okay. So, children of the 80s.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, it's but the thicker skins help it. So even with the smaller berry size, it's not going to be too susceptible to rot
Okay.
and mildew because of the thicker skin.
Mhm.
But they're going to be tighter clusters. They're smaller and they're tightly tied together there. And it will also, we talked about this last week. If you have thicker skins and you have a drought, what does that help?
It helps it not.
And that's for the whole class.
Okay.
That was one
Well,
of
it
the
helps
things.
it not to get super saturated with the water that's coming in, so it doesn't get.
But the big help is with drought. If you have thicker skins, you don't get the water leaving the grape.
Okay.
And so you don't get raisinated grapes that don't
Okay.
have the acidity.
So I was gonna say evaporation. It's not quite that. It's more
Yeah.
like.
You don't want to evaporate from the grapes
Yeah.
themselves, right? And that thicker skin helps. Which-
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. All right,
Ready?
let's move along. All right, so where does this beauty come from? Well, first of all, birth. Right. And
Would you like to
thank you
remove
very
the
much.
people? There you
So
go.
we're on the,
So I have the people blocking that part of the map, and Jeff's like, I'm just gonna keep talking until she
Mhm,
moves
that's right.
whatever's going on, because I don't know how to move that.
that's right. So, oh, here we go.
That
So,
was him.
we're on the northern of the wine growing latitudes, not the southern hemisphere. And we are in Northern California, so right about the middle, right? Here's the United States, where we grow wine grapes all around. The California being the most important, you cannot argue that fact, right? After that, you're going to battle between Oregon and Washington, but the first was,
Well, I know.
yeah,
but-
you guys remember where the first American viticultural area was? And because Napa was number 2. Do you guys remember where the first
You can
American
put it in
aviator?
the chat box or take the mic.
Yeah, so
Missouri.
Missouri.
Exactly.
That's right. We'll get some Missouri wine on here at some point, you know, or not,
Okay,
depending.
well, we'll see.
We'll see. All right. So in California, we are on the North Coast, certainly the most prestigious area to grow wine grapes in California, based on Napa, but then Sonoma came on strong. And in this case, we're up in Mendocino, which is just north of both of them. And let's make it a little
Oh,
easier.
okay.
So Napa,
Mhm.
Sonoma, we talked about when we've had Sonoma, how much bigger it is than Napa.
Yeah, it always surprises me
Right.
because it came on second. I always think of it as the little brother. So
Mm.
think of it as geographically smaller, but
Right.
it's not.
It's not. It is not. And then we've been into Lake County. This is where we had the Obsidian Ridge Cabernet Sauvignon.
Mhm.
And now we are in Mendocino County, which is here. It's a cooler county.
Mhm.
All right. Became an AVA in 1984. They have a collective dedication up there. Like kind of their thing is really sustainability. A lot of them are organic. They're really
Oh, they've actually
into,
gone through the steps to become
many of
certified
them
organic.
have, yeah.
Oh, that's a
and
big
many of
deal.
them, those that have not, are actually effectively organic.
They just aren't taking like a year off from selling or whatever.
Yeah, to get
okay.
the accreditation. So, and then we're talking about the inland area here, because you see how mountainous it is up here. You've got a lot of higher elevation,
Mhm.
which takes up with the fact that it may be a little farther inland. So not as much of a maritime influence here,
Okay.
where we're talking about Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, right? But further inland, you get a lot warmer, but you've got the elevation to keep
Okay.
it nice and fresh
Okay.
and well grown, right? So we'll take a look here. The grapes for here, this is called just Mendocino County, which is the whole area, but we are drinking Petite Sirah from Potter Valley, Redwood Valley, and Ukiah Valley.
Oh,
So
okay.
those 3 together. So otherwise it would have a sub designation like
Mhm.
Anderson Valley and that kind of thing.
But because it's from all 3.
Because it's from all
just says
3.
Mendocino County. Okay.
Exactly. So that's the thing, when you collect from more than one,
Mhm.
so for example, if you put together a beautiful wine from Napa and Sonoma, right on the mountain ridge, you have to call it Californian.
Oh,
You have to
that's
jump
hard.
all the way out
Yeah,
to Californian, where people are like, hey, it's just Californian. Why is it expensive?
right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't say so you can't designate on your label a blend of
Not
Sonoma
a,
and
you can describe it,
okay.
you can say it on the
So you
back.
can say it on the back, but not on the
but
front. You're
right
not
on the
allowed to.
front, like, you know, where you see here, if everyone take a look, you say Edmeades, Mendocino County.
Mhm.
Where it can't say Redwood Valley or Potter Valley. You're like, you can put it on the back.
Okay.
They have it on the website in this case.
So that's like one of our, and it's the like the wine rules are by country, right?
Country, and then within the state, and then with the within the AVA,
Okay.
they can change within there.
Oh,
So
okay.
the percentage of a grape to call it, for example, in California,
Mhm.
Cabernet Sauvignon, to call it Cabernet Sauvignon, it has to be 75% Cabernet Sauvignon.
You can call it a single varietal if it's just 75%.
Yes.
Okay.
But in Washington State, it's different. In Oregon, for example, when they do Pinot Noir,
Mhm.
it has to be, gosh, off the top of my head, it's been a bit, 85.
You did that to yourself.
I know I
You
did it.
walked
I
right into
boxed
that
myself in,
yourself.
but
Yeah.
it's different from state to state
Okay.
and within different regions. All
Mhm.
right. So
Okay.
it does change.
Interesting.
There's, as you might imagine, there's a lot to remember.
Yeah, well, yes.
So that's where we are. We're over in the mountainous inland side here.
Okay.
And there's kind of what it looks like. There we go. Mendocino County. Looks mountainous to me.
Mhm.
They may call them hills over there because they're used to bigger mountains, but for Floridians,
Since we're used to no mountains.
yes, exactly. So, yep.
Would you like for me to go ahead?
Sure.
Okay.
So let's see. I talked about came around 84.
So they have
The-
sheep also.
They do. Well, that's part of the sustainability. They use the sheep to mow things down, to
Okay.
get rid of, some of the because they don't chew on the vines, and so that way they don't have to use
Mower.
mowers to get in there and keep things down. So they'll have sheep wandering around.
Sure.
And that kind of thing.
Well, I remember seeing, and I can't remember which, I mean, you might remember, I'm going to put you on the spot, the one that has the ducks that like run through it and eat all the bugs.
It's in South Africa.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the name of it.
Mhm.
But yes, they have all these ducks, and the ducks eat all the bugs,
Right. Okay.
and they run around there. It's awesome.
So the sheep are eating the grass and they're fertilizing.
That's right. Exactly.
Cool.
So, and then elevation wise, we're talking about 2,000 to 3,000 feet above sea level. So they are up there.
Yeah.
This is mountainous. Like I mentioned, north of Sonoma and Napa counties, cooler growth allows slower maturation and balance without becoming overly ripe, because you can get overly ripe Petite Sirah. It'll take it. Be like, bring it.
So what happens when it's overly ripe? What does it taste like?
So fruity. It'll lose its tannins,
Okay.
which is the biggest thing. Because yes, all right, there's tutti, but there's fruitiness, but the tannins and the spiciness go away, and so you just get this very inky, fruity, sweet noted,
Okay.
because it doesn't have any spiciness. It doesn't go full dry, depending on how you ferment it.
Right.
That kind of a thing. So-
I'm feeling the tannins more now. Does that make sense?
no,
or
it does
not?
make sense.
Okay.
They can take a breath and open up and plump up.
Okay. Would you like for me to advance?
Mhm. Here we are, Edmeades. So this is, it looks a whole lot like like the brochure, so to speak,
Yeah.
when we were looking at the valley itself. This is Edmeades, established in 1963 by Dr. Donald Edmeades. He started with only 11 acres,
Oh, wow.
expanded to 24, and kept expanding from
Mhm.
there. His first vintage release was in 1972.
So you started in 63 and the first release was 72.
Right. Well, he was a practicing doctor, so
Oh,
this
okay.
was
It
his
was a
side
hobby.
thing, and it
Okay.
kept building. Pulmonary specialist, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
All right. So, first released 1972. He sold his vineyard to the Jackson wine family, which many of us have heard of Jackson wines.
Mhm.
They have a large portfolio that includes some amazing wines. They include some very casual wines,
Mhm.
but they also include some amazing wines, right? And this is, I think, one of the really nice ones. That was purchased in 1988.
But they kept the name.
They kept the name.
Mhm.
Yeah. After Donald's good, his endeavor to get going there. The current winemaker is Dave Reddy Jr., and he's got a long history with family. Murphy Good Wines. He makes makes wines from multiple different areas. He's been the winemaker here since 2017, and they tailor the winemaking in each different vineyard that they own
Mhm.
to the style of what they want to create, right? So in this one, even though the Jackson family has multiple different wines and wineries, this one is specific in that it's still very low tech. They're grabbing these grapes. They're not inoculating with yeast. They're using the native yeast that comes in there.
Mhm.
They are hand punching down. What is punching down?
Right.
We'll talk about that in a moment.
Okay.
That's going to be our wine term of the week.
Punching down.
Punching down. No filtration or fining before bottling. It's a very pure form of what they're getting there.
Okay.
Crush, ferment, manipulate as little as possible, and get the best out of what we're getting
So
from that area.
if there's no filtration, could you end up with sediment then at the bottom of your
Absolutely,
bottles?
especially
Okay.
if you age it.
Mhm.
We've got a lot of intensity on this guy.
Mhm.
And as red wines age, the color falls out.
Oh, that's right.
That's right. So that's where
So
you get the sediment.
whites get darker,
Mhm.
reds get lighter.
That's right.
Mhm.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay, so this is a 2015 vintage. And Dave Reddy started in 2017. So this
Mhm.
is not his wine.
That's true.
Okay.
Yep. And here's why.
Okay.
Right? They don't make this wine with every vintage. It's
You
only,
said that.
right. So
Okay.
there's only 140 cases of this produced in
Oh,
2015.
wow.
That is it. This is a small, so these guys are Zinfandel beasts, right?
Mhm.
Amazing Zinfandels. Some of the best Zinfandels for the money I've ever had, period.
And that's
The
Edmeades.
Edmeades in
Okay.
general, right? And the Petite Sirah, which I purchased this originally because I was such a fan of their Zinfandel.
Okay.
And I thought, I need to taste this. I
Mhm.
really do. And then I found out they make it when everything is favorable. So you don't get it every year.
Okay.
So there are gaps, like you'll see it. And that's why it's hard to find ratings. But when they do it, they do tend to get some ratings because they're only doing it when it's right.
Okay.
I mean, they're probably using it as a blending grape to kind of bump up the Zin if it's not quite right.
Mhm.
But when it's a really good year for the Petite Sirah, you get this lovely,
Okay.
right? Which is really fun, I think. So
Yeah. Okay. So I have a question. It's probably really dumb.
yeah.
So they harvest the grapes.
Yes.
They put them in like barrels or giant fermentation vessels or something, right?
Mhm.
So how long does that take between doing that and putting it in a bottle?
That is specific to the wine making choices.
Could
That's
it
all part of it.
could it be a year?
Absolutely. 15 months
Okay.
in this case.
So when they're the 2015, that number
Mhm.
is from when it's put in the bottle,
Right.
not from when it's harvested.
That is the vintage from when it was harvested. That is
From
the
when it was
2000
harvested.
Right. Not from when it
Not
went
from when
into the bottle. No.
Okay. All
No.
right. So
So that made it to the bottle in a year and a half later, roughly. So 2016.
and when do they harvest?
They harvested it in 15.
But no, okay. So what time of year? do
Oh,
they-
in September.
So-
Ish. Yeah.
in September-ish. So it's the end of 2015 when they harvest.
Right.
So by the time it made it into the bottle, it
Right.
could have been Dave Reddy.
Could have been. Yeah. He might be the guy. Making this
Okay.
one, yeah.
Okay. I was
sure.
just wondering, like, as I was looking at it. Okay.
I mean, but they're aging it in the barrels already by then, which that decision was made earlier
By someone
because they
else.
have to hang out in the barrels for
Right.
quite some time.
okay.
So I don't
Okay.
know whether you would call it a ready bottle or not.
Okay. So they're like
Ready to be
slapping a
enjoyed.
post-it on the thing saying, hey, we harvested this in September 2015. Make sure you put that on the bottle.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, pretty much.
Because it'd be easier to name it when you're putting it in the bottle or to
Right,
number
right.
it when you're putting it in the
But they
bottle.
want to, the whole sense of place for vintage creation
Mhm.
is this is what that year created for the
Okay.
grapes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that
then we
makes-
worked with it from there.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
is harder, but that makes sense.
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
so kind of to what Elizabeth was saying about when it actually goes into the bottle, when we took the cork out, I mean, that cork is red. It's like,
Oh, yeah.
it is deep, deep red.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how it would get lighter for reds, darker for whites. Does that also affect the cork? I mean, I'm assuming there's like the positioning of the bottle when they transport
Right.
and stuff too.
It will, you're right. Contact with the cork matters. If it was upright the entire time, it's going to have less effect. But the most important factor is how intense the color is. And it'll soak into the bottom of that cork. Because you get to Italians, say you drink a Barolo, right? That's a very intense red wine, but it's not intensely colored.
Didn't we have one of those? Because I remember us drinking, we drank something where it was lightly colored, but it was a big wine.
Probably Barbera. We haven't had
I
a
think that was
Barolo.
it.
Yeah.
I think it was a Barbera.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. We'll do a Barolo, but it'll have to be like the holiday series because it's more expensive.
Isn't the info about when the wine was bottled on some labels?
Yes. Sometimes.
So it might be on this one.
Yeah.
Have you read the label?
No, I was doing other research. So,
I
but
haven't read it.
actually, I did
Yeah.
read it.
Another wine education, if you're aging your bottles
Mhm.
for some time, don't you have to turn them if you're?
Yes, you do. Optimally, most of them are robust enough to handle it. If they're on their side, you're pretty much doing most of what you need to do.
Why do they need to be on their side?
Just So it's just that, so if they're on their side, you want contact between the wine and the cork so that the cork doesn't dry out.
What if it's a synthetic cork?
If it's a synthetic cork, you shouldn't be aging it all that long.
Okay,
Right?
all right. Stelvin, same thing?
Stelvin, same thing. I mean, you can age it if you want
Mhm.
some, but you're not getting an exchange.
Okay,
Whereas when you are aging something, this actually has a composite cork, which can age. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with a composite cork. It allows them to sterilize the material better.
okay.
So they chopped up all the cork, sterilized it,
Mhm.
glued it back together, and that's the cork
So it's
we
still
have.
breathing.
It's still breathing.
Mhm.
It's okay.
Okay.
It's still cork material.
Mhm.
I would guess there's maybe a little more convoluted,
Mhm.
as you get through because it's all broken apart. But there's no issue with that.
So when you have a composite cork, does it tend to not, you know how some corks like break, they fall apart after time, or is it more because it's composite?
I have not ever opened up an old composite cork,
Okay,
I will say. Generally, people, if it's for this, I mean, I'd be happy to open up in 2025. I'd be intrigued.
this one?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's delicious and probably worthy.
Mhm.
Maybe I should grab one.
probably.
But every single really old bottle I've
Mhm.
opened has been regular cork.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
just natural cork.
So I can only speak to the experience I've had.
Sure.
Yeah.
Would you like for me to move on?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So Edmeades, the winery, I kept trying to find pictures of oh, I'm sorry. I left your glass dry.
It's fine, you're talking.
I kept trying to find pictures of the winery's tasting room.
Mhm,
And I'm wondering if, because they're owned by the Jackson wine family,
mhm.
trying to make that distinction, if they maybe have a group winery, because I
Mhm.
was not able to find that picture.
One specifically for
Right.
Edmeades. Okay.
But certainly, have these wonderful pictures with them.
So I love that these pictures are here, and you were talking about how there is Zinfandel group, and both
Yeah.
of the bottles in here says Zinfandel.
Oh yeah,
on them.
no. Like there are probably like 8 different versions of Zinfandel,
Mhm.
and then there's Petite Sirah sometimes.
No, but
And
I
that's it.
love that they just do it when, okay, this is a good harvest. We'll do this. The
Mhm.
grapes are good for this one. So
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's
I
cool.
think it's pretty great.
Mhm.
I think it's also pretty great that I seem to be one of the only people buying this.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm very happy that I keep getting to bring it in because I
Yes.
know when it runs out,
That's
there's-
it.
That's it.
There's only
There's no-
140 in the whole.
Right. And then I don't know if they've done another vintage yet.
Oh, okay.
So
So this is the most recent vintage that you've
This is-
seen.
yes,
Okay.
like this 15 is the most recent vintage available in the state of Florida. I can tell you that much.
There you go.
And actually, I'm really glad it's had some time in the bottle
Mhm.
because it's delicious. It's round, it's wonderful. It opens up. It started out with some tartness, so clearly it had the ability to age these 6 years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah, that's really good. Like a peppery baker's chocolate
Mhm.
raspberry combo. I'll take it. Makes me happy. All right.
Next.
Yes, please. All right. Punch down.
Okay.
All right. We're not playing video games and we're not getting in shape. All right. So the punch down is a term winemakers use for breaking up the cap of the skins and solids that float to the top after you've crushed the grapes and they're in the fermentation zone, right?
Mhm.
So they don't want the cap to dry out because then the juice wouldn't have the contact with it anymore. And so to get the best extraction of all the color and flavor out of the skins, they physically there's a person's arms on the other end of that tool
Mhm.
and they push it down. So they're hand punched down.
So they're just pushing it below the surface.
Exactly.
Okay, just so that it goes.
It goes
okay.
down, so
They're
just to
not,
cycle
like,
it around.
pushing it down to the bottom and like stamping it at the
No,
bottom.
they're not
Okay.
crushing it again.
Okay.
They're just pushing it down so that it stays moist and that there's always this nice contact.
Okay. Huh,
So,
that's cool. You
yeah.
haven't talked about that previously.
That's why I included it.
That's good. I
Yeah.
like the education of terms.
Thanks. So yeah, so this is a hand punch down. You could see how if a machine was running around slowly, kind of with
Sure,
a
just
corkscrew or
Mhm.
something to do it, you could totally do it that way. Would
Sure.
it make the wine worse? No,
No.
no, it wouldn't.
Yeah.
But
It's just
it's kind of
how
nice
they,
that
how they
it's yeah.
choose to do it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right, so ratings on this guy. So we had what, 91 and 93, I believe,
Yes.
if I remember
Mhm.
correctly. Outstanding wine of superior character and style. We've had some more casual Petite Sirah on
Mhm.
tap recently. Linda liked it, and I think a lot of people liked it. But it is a different beast than this. I enjoy the more casual Petite
Mhm.
Sirah as well. But I think this one definitely distinguishes itself as a step above.
Mhm.
Right. So anyway, that's my thought. Before I go into more detail, what are you guys thinking? Are we talking about a classic, something, wow, I want this at my 50th wedding anniversary or my 50th birthday, depending on what you're doing this year?
I haven't decided what we're doing for your birthday,
That's
so
all right.
I know that's a hint, but
No. Outstanding wine, a very good wine. You're like, you know what? That was a good wine. I'm really happy.
Uh-huh.
Or how about a good solid wine? You know, I'm happy. That works. Mediocre. All right. What are you guys thinking?
Okay, so let's see. We've got from Brenda, Linda, Laura, and John, 90 to 91.
Okay.
From Consuelo, 91.
Mhm.
I found my favorite red wine. I still think it tastes sweet. Put 3 bottles aside for me, please, Brian. 99.9.
Well,
There you go. That is by far the highest he's ever rated a red wine.
I am shocked.
By
This
far.
is not the one I would have called for.
No,
that.
I wouldn't
I'm
have.
very happy.
So 93 from Cheryl, 92 from Larkin Tuckers,
Hmm.
93 to 94 from
Nice.
the
I
Hogsets.
thought this would be popular.
Good wine to share, started sweet, but it's beautiful once it's opened from Kiwi.
Mhm.
So, and yeah, I would do a 94. I love this wine.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, if you like a nice big cab,
Mhm.
it's a fruitier cab.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
And
no.
but it's got the tannin.
Mhm.
It's got the color and the
Mhm.
extraction. It's a
I'm
winner.
Amazed that Brian likes it so much. So, and then
Mhm.
Julie is a 91.9. We're gonna round that up to a 92.
All right, that's a
Julie.
92 from Julie.
It doesn't have that like I don't even know the word I want of like my favorite. I really, really like it. I think the highest I've ever rated one's like a 92 or 93. So it's like it's not as good as my favorites. Linda's helping me with words. I can see her. She's like, I know, because we speak the same words. But it's not like it's not my favorite, but it's so close. Like it's just like I love it. And I think too, because I'm so shocked that he loves it, that I'm like scared that I also love it.
I know we finally found your connection point between your palettes.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah,
And
and Lily's in the other room and she heard you say there's only 160 cases of it. She's like, oh, poor Brian. Because he's like, this is so good. This is so good. This is so good.
On the plus side, no one else seems to be buying it in the state of Florida. Like,
Well, that's great.
Well,
We keep scooping it up then.
I just feel like some other companies only look at what people are most famous for and
Oh, sure.
don't delve in.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. And then a Paul 89 and Linda 91.
Well, there you go. All right.
Mhm.
So throw Paul's out because he's the low.
He's definitely an outlier.
That's right.
And then Brian's also an outlier.
Yeah.
So it looks like we have an average of probably 92 if we averaged them all out. Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, that's great. Would you like for me to advance or just? The next is next week, right?
Yes, the next one is next week.
Okay,
Well,
so-
no, next is thanking their sources.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let's think the sources.
Hey,
So I have to move all you guys out. of the
without
way.
them, where would we be, right? Wine Folly, always, like, I highly encourage. They're amazing. Their book's amazing. Videos on YouTube are amazing. 750, Wikipedia, the California Wine Club, Southern Glacier Distributors. Southern Glacier is actually who distributes this wine.
Okay,
And the Mendocino wine growers. So gained a lot of wonderful knowledge from those people. And I appreciate you guys helping me get this presentation together.
but without them, we would have no images. It would just be looking at us the whole time.
Well,
So-
you know, for one of us, that would be nice.
Okay, so any last thoughts on this before we reveal next week's wine? No?
I'll tell you, I love the cocoa's really come out like a plum cocoa.
Yeah, I really like this.
It's delicious.
Okay,
And makes me happy. All right. I'm glad you guys liked it.
all right,
All
next
right. Well,
week.
let's see what we're drinking next week.
Okay,
All right. Next
Ready?
week, we're heading to California.
so this is our our first Chardonnay in 18 months.
18 months or
however long
so.
it's been
And
that we've been doing
the
this,
first
yeah.
one, the first Californian Chard, because the other one we had was French. Was
Oh, we did do a
we had the
Chardonnay.
we had the
That's
Petite
right,
Sirah.
but we haven't had okay.
Yeah.
Have we done something from Orrin Swift before?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we did the Locations Red Blend. Remember the
That's right.
California?
Okay.
All right. So
Yes.
this is one of his higher end ones,
Mhm.
right? So, so Orrin Swift is created by Dave Finney, the winemaker.
Mhm.
Dave Finney made Prisoner,
Right.
Orrin Swift, and the
Mhm.
Locations one.
Okay, I remember that.
All right, so we're going to, I figured, you know what, Dave Finney makes great stuff. So we're going to have the Chardonnay,
Mhm.
classically made Californian style. So there's going to be some buttery oakiness in here, everybody. From Dave Finney, well made. It's a good one. It's not
Okay.
like, because there's one thing to have a buttery
I'm gonna
oaky.
have to have food in front of me for this.
That's
I mean, I
fine.
really am. But I liked the Chardonnay, the last one you put in front of me when we were having the turkey chili.
You
so,
pair it
okay.
up, right? You
Okay,
pair it up
yes.
and it's
All right.
wonderful. So the mannequin, Robert Parker
I like
91,
the label. It's
right? He loves his big ass bottles
Mhm.
and really cool weirdo labels.
Okay.
Seafood with butter or cream sauce, chicken piccata,
Mhm.
and then I put the one that you would love, which is we make this wonderful
Jeff makes.
a turkey butternut squash turmeric chili,
Mhm.
which you guys can. I'll give you guys
It
the
pairs
recipe
really
if you
well
want.
with Chardonnay, actually.
It's wonderful.
Yeah,
So,
and so seafood with butter sauce, shrimp scampi.
sure. Yeah,
I make a
absolutely.
really good shrimp scampi.
shrimp scampi, like even if you did because this could handle it, it's going to have some acidity left over.
Okay.
It's not it's a good bottle of wine.
Mhm.
So you could even have shrimp and Alfredo pasta.
Oh, so you
I
could,
mean,
yeah, well,
you
you
could
said
go
cream
that
sauce
far.
is
That
there.
would be pushing the farthest.
I
but
don't
yeah.
make that, so.
Yeah, I know.
Mhm.
But
He's like, yes, I know.
I know. I miss it so much.
It's very heavy. Sorry.
It's
but-
all right. It's all right. You're going to Auburn this weekend. It's all right.
I am. Okay, wait, we have a chat here.
All right. What do we have?
Broiled flounder.
Broiled flounder.
Oh,
All
yeah,
right.
that
Yeah,
sounds gret. Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
So what's cool about this, it won't trounce on your light ones, but it can stand up to like a salmon pairing. Right?
Oh, it
Yeah, it
can.
could run between the
Okay.
two.
What about, so it won't trounce on if you got grouper? Or will it?
No, you can do it.
Okay,
You can do it.
okay.
Absolutely. All right. So I hope you guys will join us. It really will be good. I'm not going to throw in a Chardonnay because I know people are, but honestly, Chardonnay is getting a bad, it's getting bad press. It's like Merlot before. Even a buttery oaky Chardonnay well made is not what you think. It's going to be good.
I liked the last one you put in front of me when I was eating the turkey
Mhm.
chili that you make. It paired really well. I was shocked
Mhm.
that I liked it.
Yeah.
So, okay. So I will look forward to having this with you guys. Are gonna have to watch me eat next week. So, and then Brian, I'm sure this is Brian. My mother will be pleased.
Yes,
Thank you.
well, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. So any last thoughts before we sign off with the recording?
I'm going to refill.
Oh, you're refilling.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
so much for coming.
Everyone.
I think it seems like everyone enjoyed it. That
Mhm.
really makes me happy.
Yep.
I love picking wines that bring something new and pleasurable.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Cheers, everyone.
Toast.